Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. So today I'm doing a breakdown of the upcoming Louisiana primaries that are taking place on Saturday, May 16th, sort of halfway in between the primaries taking place on the 12th in Nebraska and West Virginia, and the upcoming Tuesday, May 19th primaries in Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. So for Louisiana being a standalone primary on the 16th, I'm doing a full video just dedicated to Louisiana, and there are actually some very important races, including the Senate race, that I want to talk about that are taking place. So with that said, obviously for the primaries, Louisiana's got a lot of going on both the U.S. Senate and U.S. House side as well. They also have some public service commissioner primaries, state Supreme Court, public service commissioner for another district, Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, and we also have some primary elections for several mayoral races as well. First things first, I'm going to start with the House races, as when it comes to the general election, in these House races, things are pretty standard. The Democrats only have about 2 House races or House seats in Louisiana that are considered safe for the Democrats. The 2nd District with Troy Carter and the 6th District with Cleo Fields are the 2 Democratic districts. The rest of them are all held by Republicans. The 1st, Steve Scalise. The 3rd, Clay Higgins. The 4th, Mike Johnson. And the 5th, Julia Letlow. And we can look at some of the results from the 2024 House map and just see how these goes, because the Louisiana map at this time of recording has not changed. For the 1st District, Scalise won by 42.8%. For the 3rd District, Higgins won it by 51.9%. The 2nd District, Carter won it by 46.6%. We did the first right. The 5th, Julia Letlow won by 36.9%. And the 4th District, Mike Johnson won by 71.6%. The only flip from 2022 to 2024, when the map had to be redrawn to add another Democratic district, was when the Democrat Fields ended up winning by roughly about 13 points. Though again, you can see in this race, there was a lot of vote splitting among Democratic candidates. This time around, it should be pretty safe for the Democrats. So in looking at the primaries in some of these districts, we'll start with the 1st District, where the Democrats James Long and Lauren Jewett are facing off. This is to take on Steve Scalise. And in this one, Steve Scalise, the Republican incumbent, is facing off against Randall Arlington. Also, I do want to point this out before it gets too long in the video. Louisiana actually changed their electoral system in January of 2024. The Republican Governor Jeff Landry signed the House Bill 17, which was sponsored by Representative Julia Emerson, which eliminated the top 2 Louisiana primary system in favor of the Democratic and Republican partisan primaries that we're more accustomed to in a lot of other states. It does also mention unaffiliated voters may vote in both primaries, but not members of the opposite parties in those primaries. The bill also indicated the use of runoff elections that if no candidate receives over 50% in their respective primary, the top 2 candidates will go to a runoff, where then obviously they'll face off and the winning candidate will break 50% of the vote. The law takes effect at the beginning, obviously, the 2026 elections, making this the first election in which Louisiana will elect a U.S. Senator using this system since 2010. The top 2 primary was first implemented in the congressional elections in 1978. So for the primaries, the 1st District, James Long, Lauren Jewett. The Republican primary, Steve Scalise, Randall Arlington. Probably going to be Steve Scalise advancing to the general election once again. In the 2nd District, the Democrat primary, we have Troy Carter and Renata Collins. The Republicans don't seem to have a candidate in this race, so probably definitely going to be a safe Democratic win. On the House 3, Caleb Walker, John Day, and Tia LeBron facing off in the Democratic primary. In the Republican primary, U.S. Representative Clay Higgins is running unopposed in that one. In the 4th District, Democrats Conrad Cable and Matt Cromlick are facing off in that Democratic primary. On the Republican side, obviously Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is facing off against Republicans Joshua Morot and Mike Nichols. Speaker of the House Johnson extremely likely to win this primary and advance to the general. In the 5th District, there are 5 Democrats running in this race. Dan McKay, Jesse Fleenor, Larry Foy, Lindsey Garcia, and Tania Nyman running in this race. On the Republican side, the Representative Julia Letlow is not running in this race. She's actually running for U.S. Senate, which we'll get to in just one moment. 3 Republicans are the most notable ones running here, but there are other 4 candidates as well. Austin McGee, Blake Miguez, Michael Eccles, Michael Mabrewer, Misty Cordell, Rick Emmons, and Samuel Wyatt. We'll have to wait and see how this primary sorts out for which candidate will win in a multi-candidate field, but one of these three will likely be one of the winners here. As for the 6th district, Democrat Cleo Fields is running unopposed, and I did not mean to click that. Let's go back here. Running unopposed. On the Republican side, 3 Republicans running in Christian Johnson, Larry Davis, and Monique Apeening. So those are the House races in Louisiana, but now we got to talk about the Senate race. The Senate race, which is Republican incumbent Bill Cassidy. On the prior election system in Louisiana, we can look at the Senate race. Cassidy won in 2020 with 40.3%, getting 59.32% of the vote. Now, in that old system, there were several Democrats and 1 Republican running as well. This time around, it'll just be a general election, I believe, of the Republican and Democrat advancing to the general election. The question is going to be, though, which Republican does it end up being? The Democratic side, there are Democrats Gary Crockett, Jamie Davis, and Nicholas Alvarez. But the main talk here, given how red Louisiana is which Republican it will be. On the U.S. Senate side of things, Republican incumbent Bill Cassidy is running again, though he is facing a strong primary challenge from Republican John Fleming and Republican U.S. Representative Julia Letlow, with Republican Mark Spencer also in this race. Now, the Senate race in Louisiana is going to be very interesting, as the polling has shown a tight race that Bill Cassidy may very well lose. Now, it's important to mention what I said at the start of the video, which is the talk about a runoff. It's very likely in this race, with the vote splitting of Cassidy, Fleming, and Letlow, not one of the candidates is going to break 50%. It's going to go to a runoff election. The question is going to be which 2 Republicans will ultimately advance. Now, Senator Cassidy has the endorsements of U.S. Senator Tim Scott and Senate Majority Leader John Thune in this race, including also New Orleans Saints quarterback or former quarterback Drew Brees. John Fleming has the endorsement of 3 U.S. Representatives, Paul Gosar, Scott Perry, and Martin Stutzman, but Julia Letlow has the biggest prize when it comes to the endorsements. She has the endorsement of President Donald J. Trump and Governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry. As for the fundraising on this race, Cassidy is currently leading at $13 million raised. Fleming has raised about $11 million. Letlow, despite having Trump's endorsement, only has roughly about $3.9 million raised. When it comes to money cash on hand, as of March 31st, Bill Cassidy has roughly about $7 million. John Fleming and Julia Letlow both have around $2 million. Now, for the polling and the polling averages thus far, it's a very tight race. Fleming currently leads on 270 to wins average by 1.5% at 29.5. Letlow's in second at 28, and Bill Cassidy is in third at 20.5. But for the race to the White House average through March 24th, it's a different story. On this one, Bill Cassidy is leading 31.1, Letlow's in second with 28.8, John Fleming's in third at 22.7, still with 26.5% of the vote. So it's going to be very interesting here. We know that it's going to be a runoff of the top 2, but with still roughly about 20% of the vote undecided, and all 3 candidates getting right around that same 20% number, we don't really know which of the 2 Republicans are going to advance. It's possible it ends up being Bill Cassidy versus Julia Letlow. It's possible being Bill Cassidy versus John Fleming. It's possible Fleming and Letlow get enough of the vote that they lock Cassidy out of a runoff and the U.S. Senator goes down and becomes Letlow versus Fleming. So it's going to be very interesting to see ultimately how it all breaks down. So in terms of which primary to watch for on election night, this Republican U.S. Senate primary is definitely the one I'm keeping my closest eye on. As for some of the other races taking place as well outside of the U.S. Senate and U.S. House, there's a Public Service Commissioner primary for the 5th seat. Austin Lawson, the Democrat, and James Green, the Democrat, are facing off in this one, in this part of the state up here. On the Republican side, Republican Aidan Joyner and Republican John Atkins are facing off in that primary. For the state Supreme Court Republican primary, it takes place in this part of the state, so obviously a typically very red area of the state, it looks like, but I was mistaken about that. Blair Edwards and William Burris are facing off in that primary. Public Service Commissioner, a Republican primary is underway here. In the first seat, Big John Mason, John Young, Mark Wright, Stephanie Hilferty, and Wallace Cooper are all running in this race as well. Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, in the first seat, Ellie Schroeder, Joseph Cow, and Michael Hollis are facing off in that. As for the mayoral races, there are a lot of mayoral primary races here, so we can go through them here. DeRidder Mayor is facing off Danny Reynolds, Elmer Morrow, and Michael Harris. That's facing off over here in this part of the state. Marksville Mayor is taking place right here. John Lemoyne, Rachone Williams, and Carl Champton. These are all also nonpartisan primaries, so there's no Democrat or Republican label, similar to like the Supreme Court election in Wisconsin. There may be candidates that are endorsed by the Democrats or Republicans, but they're not party-affiliated candidates. City of Sulphur Mayor, which is down here, Jacob Stutz versus Les Farnham. Mansfield Mayor, Curtis McCoy versus Sonia Stutz versus Thomas Jones. This one, unlike the other one, this one does have partisan primary here. Democrat, Curtis McCoy. Republican, Sonia Stutz. Thomas Jones, also a Democrat. I guess it just depends town by town if the candidates are partisan or not, or they are partisan, and some can just refuse to say if they don't want to. So Danny Reynolds and Elmer Morrow are both Republicans. Michael Harris is non-partisan. And then we can look at Marksville Mayor. Lemoyne and Williams are both Democrats. Carl Chapman is no party. Sulphur Mayor, 2 Republicans running. Mansfield Mayor with McCoy as the Democrat, Stutz the Republican, and Thomas Jones the Democrat. Stonewall Mayor, 2 Republicans are running in Kenneth Kafka and Randall Rogers. Winsboro Mayor, 3 Democrats are running in Alice Wallace, Albert Lawrence, and Muriel Lynch. For the town of Colfax Mayor, we have Republican Beverly Maffos. We have Joy Williams, a Democrat, and Tamika Price, a Democrat. Town of Montgomery Mayor, Nolan Johnson, Republican. Vaughn Gilcrease, a nonpartisan. City of Kenner Mayor, Democrat Diane Schnell, Republican Michael Glazer, and Walt Benetti as no party. For the city of Tallulah Mayor, there are 3 Democrats running: Arthur Lee, Carlos Ford, and Gloria Hayden. That's there. For the village of Natchez Mayor, there are a Democrat, Monique Sarpy, and nonpartisan Patsy Hoover. For the city of West Monroe Mayor, there's Republican Donald Nance versus Republican Stacey Mitchell. We can now go to the city of Pineville Mayor, where there are 3 Republicans running in Chris Camp, Joseph Bishop, and Russell Murdoch. In Pineville, in Rayville Mayor, there are 3 Democrats running, and also 2 Republicans, or 1 Republican and 1 Green Party candidate as well. Consuelo Hunter, Jerry Gordon, Joseph Fletcher, Tim Hoychik, and Morgan Moss are running in Rayville. For St. Martinville Mayor, there are 3 Democrats running: Jason Willis, Lisa Nelson, and Melinda Mitchell, and nonpartisan Mark Pratt running there. For the city of Abbeville, there's 1 Democrat, Anita Levy, and 1 nonpartisan, Rosalind White. For Leesville Mayor, there are 3 Democrats running and 1 nonpartisan. Andrew Sandansky, James Shapkoff, and LaFonda Stelly are the Democrats. Louis Hopkins is the nonpartisan. For the town of New Lano, there is a Democrat, Carolyn Todd, and nonpartisan Mayor Patel. And lastly, for the city of Winfield Mayor, there's 1 Republican, George Moss, and nonpartisan Gerald Hamps. So those are a lot of the notable races that are up. There's also 84 other races that are considered other. Those are more town and local races that I'm not going to go into for today's video. But clearly, there are a lot of races in Louisiana up in this primary. The U.S. Senate race primary on the Republican side certainly takes the cake for most competitive primaries to watch out for. But the House races have some interesting primaries underway as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did. If you have any other information about Louisiana that you want to mention that I didn't address in this video, or you're more well informed on these primaries, please feel free to leave all that in the comment section below. I promise if I'm wrong and you tell me I'm wrong, you won't hurt my feelings or anything. So if there's anything I said that's not correct in this video, please feel free to correct me down below. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to hit like and subscribe as I post a new video every single day. That I'd really appreciate if you could hit like and subscribe and check those videos out. For now, that is it. Thank you so much for watching and hope to see you in a future video.